Frank Lloyd Wright was one of the most influential and innovative architects of the 20th century. He is widely regarded as the pioneer of organic architecture, a style that harmonizes buildings with their natural surroundings. He also designed some of the most iconic and recognizable structures in the world, such as Fallingwater, the Guggenheim Museum, and the Roby House. Wright was born on June 8, 1867, in Richland Center, Wisconsin. His father was a preacher and a musician, and his mother was a teacher. Wright inherited his father's musical talent and his mother's passion for education. He also developed an early interest in architecture, inspired by his mother's collection of books and pictures of European buildings. Wright attended the University of Wisconsin-Madison for 2 years, but dropped out in 1887 to pursue a career in architecture. He moved to Chicago, where he worked as a draftsman for several firms, including the renowned Adler and Sullivan. He learned a lot from Louis Sullivan, who became his mentor and friend. Sullivan encouraged Wright to develop his own style and vision, and gave him the opportunity to design some houses independently. In 1893, Wright left Adler and Sullivan and opened his own practice in Oak Park, Illinois. He married Catherine Tobin, with whom he had 6 children. He also began to design his own home and studio, which became a showcase of his emerging style. He experimented with geometric forms, horizontal lines, natural materials, and open spaces. He also developed his concept of the prairie house, a low-slung, flat-roofed dwelling that blended with the landscape of the Midwest. Wright's reputation grew as he designed more than 100 houses in this style, as well as churches, schools, offices, and hotels. Some of his most famous works from this period include the Winslow House, 1893, the Larkin Administration Building, 1904, and the Unity Temple, 1908. He also published articles and books to explain his philosophy and principles of organic architecture. In 1909, Wright left his family and practice to travel to Europe with Mama Borthwick Cheney, a client's wife with whom he had fallen in love. He returned to America in 1911 and settled in Spring Green, Wisconsin. There he built Taliesin, his home and studio that reflected his artistic evolution. He also resumed his work and designed some of his masterpieces, such as Fallingwater, 1936, a house perched over a waterfall in Pennsylvania, the Johnson Wax Headquarters, 1936. A skyscraper with a soaring interior space supported by a giant column, and the Solomon Art Guggenheim Museum, 1943, a spiral-shaped museum in New York City. Wright faced many personal and professional challenges throughout his life. He endured tragedies such as the death of his mother, 1922, the murder of Mama Cheney and 6 others by a servant at Taliesin, 1914. The destruction of Taliesin by fire twice, 1914 and 1925, the death of his second wife Miriam Noel, 1930, and the death of his third wife Olga Ivanovna. He also struggled with financial difficulties, lawsuits, controversies, and critics who dismissed or misunderstood his work. Despite these hardships, Wright never gave up on his vision and creativity. He continued to work until his death on April 9, 1959, at the age of 91. He left behind a legacy of more than 500 completed buildings and thousands of drawings and writings. He also influenced generations of architects and designers who admired his originality and genius. He is widely recognized as one of the greatest architects of all time.